This race was decided long before the finish line. And in this video, you'll see exactly where it happened. The women's 400 meters in Miami brought together some of the fastest athletes in the world, but only one athlete executed the perfect race model. We break down each phase step by step, from the explosive start to the decisive final 100 meters, highlighting the key differences between controlled running and early overcommitment. If you want to understand what separates a winner from the rest in modern 400M racing, this analysis gives you the full picture.
They've got a slight advantage over the challengers, particularly Amber Anning, who we're going to see in a second. There's Nikisha Price. Was only 8th in Kingston in that incredibly fast race, so she'll want to turn that around. So the world indoor champion from Great Britain, been based in the US for quite a few years now, good 200-meter runner as well. Was disqualified actually at the European Indoor Championships. A real shame that was for lane infringement. Then Stacey Ann Williams, she must look at the times and go, well, I'm pretty good. I've run 50 flat in my career, but that makes me the slowest in this field. Not by much. Then Whittaker on the inside. Actually ran an 800. I'm always curious about 400-meter runners at 2.2 this year.
Really? Okay. This is a walk in the park for her, yeah?
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Actually, Amber Anning's last race, 2.6 for an 800. What's going on?
You want that
400-meter runners, exactly, just testing with early season.
Yeah.
This, though, about their main event, the 400 meters. We got Whittaker on the inside, then Williams, Amber Anning, the world indoor champion, in 3. Nikisha Price, Alexis Holmes, Paulino, the Olympic champion, in 6. Naser, Olympic silver medalist, winner in Kingston, and then Kendall Ellis on the outside.
You know Naser's going to get out, but Paulino does have her in her sights just outside of her.
Safely away, everybody, round this first turn. Naser has started quickly. Paulino's going to try and hang on to her, and also gone out pretty quickly Alexis Holmes, as she likes to as well. Amber Anning in lane 3 got some room to make up. There's a big gap between Price and the athletes outside her, so Anning's going to have to check off that. Now, look at this. Naser out there in lane 7 has gone through the first 200 meters incredibly quickly. Paulino hanging on. Holmes is right there. Amber Anning looks as though others are starting to chase her down. Whittaker has really come through in lane 1, and as that stagger starts to unfurl, we'll put her perhaps in 3rd. But it's Naser against Paulino. Paulino fighting, trying to get there, has got the momentum. Here she comes, the Olympic champion is going to get the win this time. Paulino, 49.21. Holmes maybe hung on for 3rd place there. Very tired in the last 20 meters.
She had to
too
do
hard, too fast, what do you think? Very quick through that first 200.
Well, the thing is, she knows that Naser's a closer, so she knows that she's coming. And like I said, she had to come out here and establish herself. She put the finger up at the finish line just to let y'all know, look, don't forget, I'm still that girl. And you know what? I think it was important for her to maybe lose because she'd been winning so much. So Naser had to kind of dash that cold water in her face and be like, who are you? And she showed us who she is today.
Time? I mean, we've had such a day today. I mean, that was about a race, though, wasn't it? As you said.
You know, I'm just looking at the time right now as we're speaking because I was caught up in the race.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal strategy. Just she stalked her around the first turn and just made sure she stayed close. She knew she could close on her edge. It was a fight in that finish line. 49.21. You break 50 point. It's respectable. We know what she can do. Like I said, she came to the home straight away, and you can see all that is a fight. And you can just see that, you know, Naser obviously broke down, and she could probably hear the footsteps. And athletes do have that feel for the athletes that are around them.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing for the world indoor champion. You can see that Amber Anning in lane 3.
Yeah, not the best finish for her, but lesson learned. And she lined up and... Okay, so I mentioned, you can just look at Paulino's face that she is fighting for this finish. You are not beating me today. Naser got really, really big with her arms, obviously getting very, very tired. But Paulino now knows that her speed is where it needs to be. She knows that she's going to have the strength. And she actually knows that Naser's not going to beat her in that 200. So going into that, she's got confidence to just win the whole thing and get herself a slam championship.
Yeah, just by contrast, at 200 meters, Naser was 3/10 ahead. And, you know, that doesn't sound like a lot, in there, but in it, you know, if it was a flat 200 meters, that's a long way.
It's a long way. Those tenths mean something.
Well, MJ, a very happy spectator. And
The women's 400 meters at the Miami stop of the Grand Slam Track Tour was not just fast. It was structurally precise, tactically layered, and ultimately defined by execution under pressure. On paper, this was one of the deepest fields assembled in 2025. In reality, it became a clear demonstration of how race modeling and efficiency still separate the very best from the rest. From the blocks, the field committed to an aggressive first 120 meters. This was expected. With multiple sub-50 athletes, no one wanted to concede position early and risk getting trapped in the stagger. Salwa Eid Naser, known for her front-loaded race pattern, immediately imposed her rhythm. Her opening stride frequency was high, and she attacked the stagger with intent, aiming to establish visual control before the break on the backstretch. However, what stood out was how Lady Paulino responded, not by matching that early aggression, but by controlling it. Her first 100 meters were composed, almost deceptively relaxed compared to Naser's intensity. This is a defining characteristic of Paulino's model. She avoids unnecessary lactate accumulation early, preserving mechanical efficiency for the second half of the race. By the 200-meter mark, the contrast between approaches became clearer. Naser had already begun to flatten slightly in her stride, still leading visually, but at a cost. Her race relies on sustaining high velocity through the bend, but that comes with a metabolic price. Paulino, in contrast, entered the backstretch in full control of her posture. Her stride remained long, hips tall, and ground contact minimal. She wasn't chasing, she was positioning. The critical phase came between 200 and 300 meters, where most 400M races are decided. This is where Paulino consistently separates herself globally. While others transition into survival mode, she maintains form integrity. In Miami, this phase was decisive. As Naser attempted to maintain her early advantage, her cadence began to tighten, and her stride length shortened under fatigue. Paulino did the opposite. Her transition into the final bend was smooth and progressive, rather than a visible surge. It was a controlled increase in pressure, incremental acceleration without breaking mechanics. This is what makes her so difficult to counter. There is no single explosive move to respond to. Instead, she builds speed while others decelerate. Behind them, athletes like Kendall Ellis and Alexis Holmes were executing solid races, but neither could match the front pair's efficiency. Both showed signs of strain entering the final 120 meters, upright posture beginning to collapse, arm carriage tightening, and stride symmetry deteriorating. Amber Anning, despite her strong indoor season, also struggled to maintain rhythm outdoors at this intensity, particularly in the final straight. At 300 meters, the race dynamic flipped completely. Paulino moved past Naser not with a sprint, but with superior maintenance of velocity. This distinction is critical. In elite 400M racing, winners are rarely those who accelerate the most. They are those who decelerate the least. Paulino's biomechanics allowed her to carry speed deeper into the final straight, while Naser's earlier expenditure caught up with her. The final 100 meters were a clear illustration of control versus resistance. Paulino's had remained steady, her stride still elastic, and her relaxation evident even under maximal effort. Naser, by comparison, was now fighting the race, visible tension through the shoulders, reduced knee lift, and increasing ground contact time. The margin at the finish reflected more than just speed. It reflected efficiency, patience, and race intelligence. This performance reinforced a broader trend in women's 400-meter at the elite level. The event is shifting away from purely aggressive, front-loaded strategies toward more balanced distribution models. Athletes like Paulino are redefining what optimal pacing looks like, prioritizing controlled first halves and dominant closing phases. For the American contingent, the race highlighted both depth and limitations. Ellis and Holmes remain consistent performers, capable of competitive times. But the gap to the very top is not just physical, it's structural. Their race patterns still rely too heavily on early positioning, leaving them vulnerable in the decisive stages. In contrast, Paulino's dominance is built on repeatable mechanics and disciplined energy distribution. She doesn't just run fast, she runs correctly, within the context of the 400 meters as a physiological and technical challenge. Miami was not an upset. It was confirmation. Mare Lady Paulino didn't just win. She controlled the race from within, dictated its evolution, and once again proved that in the modern 400 meters, efficiency is the ultimate weapon.